Assalamu alaikum. Can you guys hear me?
Walaikum Assalam.
Thank you. So today we'll be focusing on circulation, the topic where we left yesterday. So we were discussing about circulation and the tip effects of the wing. So now you can see here that this is a finite wing which has two tips at A, wing tips at A and point B. Now we discussed that the shape of the wing is such that it is capable of generating more uh, pressure force on the bottom surface as compared to top surface like this, right? So since we have more pressure force, high pressure on the bottom surface and we have low pressure on the low surface, there will be net resultant pressure force acting in upward direction that will be responsible for creating lift force in case of a wing, right? Now because of this distribution of pressure force, what is going to happen at the tip of the wing, the fluid particles which have high velocity, high pressure at the bottom surface will move from the bottom surface of the wing to the top surface, because we know that fluid always flow from high pressure to low pressure. So we will have migration of fluid particles from bottom surface to top surface at the tip like this, right? And similarly we will have these tip vortices over here also. These tip vortices will also combine with the incoming flow that is flowing past the wing, right? So now you can see that in this case what is going to happen, we have the side view of the wing like this. The incoming flow is coming in this direction, u. Now what happens, the part of the flow goes on top, other part goes on the bottom. There will be a point where these two will interact here, right? Because the flow that is flowing past and that is flowing on top of the aerofoil will be inclined downward, and the flow that is flowing below the aerofoil will be inclined upward. As such, there will be a point behind or in the wake of this aerofoil where they will combine. When these two combine, they will generate bound vortices, right? So now when these two combines, the effect of this combination will be generation of vortices like this, helical vortices like this, right? ये इसका combine करेंगे तो ये these will generate helical vortices like this in the wake of the aircraft. Now, when these helical vortices that are generated at the tip, they will also be combining with these tip vortices, and the strength of these helical vortices will be greater at the tip because of these tip vortices also, right? So if we look at these tip vortices here, when these tip vortices and these bound vortices, they, which is because of the incoming flow, when they combine, they will form horseshoe vortices like this. So this we called as horseshoe vortices, because if you look at the shape of these vortices, they are just like the horseshoe, right? And then these horseshoe vortices we have because of the end effects. So they are also called the end effects. So for example, we not only have these horseshoe vortices in case of a wing, we also have these horseshoe vortices in case of circular cylinder. We'll see that later on. So now for now, remember that because of these tip vortices and incoming bound vortices, we have net lift force and drag force generated on the wing, on like this, right? Now you can see that here are there are two examples shown over here of those helical vortices that are generated behind the cylinder because of those tip vortices. So now you can clearly see here these are the tip vortices generated behind the aircraft, right? And now in case of circular cylinder, you can see because it also has end effects here, so those horseshoe vortices are also generated at this point. So you can see that the vortex strength at the two ends is greater as compared to the vortex strength here. Why? Because we will have additional tip vortices over here, as we discussed, in which case there will be those tip vortices will be because of the net flow from high pressure to low pressure in that case, right? Now, in order to physically understand these tip vortices, I'll show you a video here. So before I show you the video, we'll discuss about this slide first. So now you can see here that the same wing is shown here, and the tip vortices and the bound vortices are all shown here. So this is incoming flow U. Part of the flow goes here, the other part goes down. They combine here like this, and then helical vortices are like this, right? Now if you look at uh, these tip vortices and bound vortices, you can clearly see here that the effect of these tip vortices because of their direction is to generate velocity in upward direction. This velocity at the tip vortices which is acting in upward direction is called upwash, right? And then the velocity that is generated behind this wing is called downwash. So and then it will be in this direction because of these bound vortices, it will be in downward direction. So the velocity because of the bound vortex will be in downward direction called downwash, and the tip vortices will generate vortices in upward direction of velocity in upward direction, that is called upwash. Now what is the significance of this downwash and upwash? Now you can clearly see we have an aircraft that is flying in this direction inside the paper, right? This is the rear view of this aerofoil of this wing of this aircraft. Now you can see that the tip vortices are generated at the tip of this aircraft, and then we have downwash vortices, and this tip vortices will generate net upward velocity like this, upward velocity distribution like this because of their direction. Now if you look at inside the wing here, because of the bound vortices, there will be net velocity acting in downward direction here, which because of the bound direction of bound vortices. Now if we have another aircraft flying in this direction perpendicular to this, right? What is going to happen when it flows past this area? Because the velocity is in upward direction, it will observe a net force, lift force, additional lift force in upward direction because of this upwash. When this aircraft is flying in this region, it will observe a net force acting in downward direction, which will result in reduction of the lift force because of downwash. And again, when it crosses this point, it will feel upward force because of upwash. So this is the significance of these upwash and downwash velocities, right? Now, another example of this is here. You can see that this is a flock of birds. So normally, if you see nowadays, people are trying to understand the physics and mechanics of flocking birds, and trying to replicate or use their flocking characteristics or mechanics to design UAVs which can work in coordination with each other, right? So we have one leader and other followers. So you can see that this is the leader in this case, and the other are followers, right? So now in this case also you can see the wings of the bird, they are also capable because they also have finite wings, right? And then they will also have tips at their wings, so those tips will also generate tip vortices. And then when we have tip vortices from the wings of the bird, when the other birds that are following these birds, when they come in contact with those tip vortices, they will also feel that upwash, right? And then what will be the effect of that upwash? That will generate additional force for them, so that they don't have to generate lift force by their wings, but they can use that upwash to generate the lift force automatically, right? So that is just to show you an example. So now here you can also see the coordinated motion of different aircrafts which are flying together. Okay, so this is the significance of circulation, upwash and downwash. Now we'll also quickly see an example on the sorry, we'll also quickly go through a video on this. You can see that the tip vortices are, because of tip vortices, you can see the tip vortices behind the aircraft, in this case a commercial Boeing aircraft. See the tip vortices, the tip vortices can be clearly seen, the helical vortices that we talked about. See, from the tips you can see the vortices being generated. Here, the vortices can clearly be seen behind it. So these are called tip vortices. So now, what is the effect of these tip vortices? So now the tip vortices that interact with the free stream. So we discussed that we have tip vortices here. So this is incoming flow combining like this, and then we have tip vortices like this. So when these two vortices they combine, tip vortices that interact with the free stream impose forces on the wing tips in all direction, wing tips in all, including the flow direction. So because of these tip vortices, when they combine with the incoming flow, they generate forces, three-dimensional forces in all the directions, right? So Now the component of the force of this force in the flow direction adds to drag force and is called induced drag. Now this is interesting. So now when we have tip vortices and when they combine with the incoming flow, they exert force on the tip of the wing, right? So the force that they exert on the tip of the wing, uh, that will be three-dimensional, right? And then as such it will also have a component in the direction of incoming flow. So the force direction, the direction of force in the incoming flow direction is called drag force, right? So the drag force that is induced because of uh, this tip effects is called induced drag, FD induced, or we just denote it by FDI. This is induced drag, right? Now there are two types of drags. Now we discussed that the shape of an aerofoil is such that it is capable of more generating more lift as compared to drag, right? Now this is because of the shape of the aerofoil. Different shapes of aerofoils will be capable of generating different lift and force characteristics. Now if we draw CL, CL or CD, this is CL or CD versus angle alpha, or CL versus CD, we have a graph like this, and that graph that is giving us the profile, that is because of the shape of the aerofoil. That is because of the shape of the aerofoil. So I can say that there are two components of drag force. One is called FDP. P means profile drag. Profile drag is because of the shape of the aerofoil. Different shape of the aerofoil will give us different profile drag. And then we have induced drag. Induced drag is because of the tip vortices, right? So the total drag force will be equal to FD equals to FDI plus FDP. This is how we find it. So tip vortices that interact with free stream imposes forces on the wing tips in all direction, including the flow direction. The component of the force in the flow direction adds to drag and is called induced drag. Now the total drag of a wing is then the sum of the induced drag, which is because of the tip vortices, 3D effects, and the drag of the aerofoil section, 2D effect. So this drag of the aerofoil section is because of the shape of the aerofoil. So the equation that we discussed here. Okay, so this is all about the lift force, right? Because of the upwash and downwash, we have additional component of drag which is called induced drag, and that induced drag is very adds or adds to additional drag force, right? Now in order to understand this drag force, this is just additional information. So let's suppose we have this aerofoil, and then we have this incoming flow, right? Now let's suppose if we have uh, let's suppose if we have downwash. Okay, so if we have downwash velocity, then it will be like this. So we can say that because of this downwash velocity that the aircraft will be feeling, we can say that this is the velocity, downwash velocity. This is incoming flow velocity. This is U naught, downwash velocity. Then we define the relative velocity as this, U relative, right? And then we define this angle as alpha naught, for example. This is different from alpha, right? This is just to show you what induced drag is. Now, because the incoming flow was initially here, U. Because of the downwash, because of the tip vortices, we have downwash, and during that downwash, what happens? The U has changed from U to U relative. Now the lift force and the drag force will be along this U relative. So I can say that the resultant force on this aircraft will be along this direction, in the direction of U relative, right? So now if it is in the direction of U relative, so it will have lift force perpendicular to this, which we call FL naught, like this, right? Now if it has lift force perpendicular to this, and now this is U. So initially if we look at the direction of U, this is, I think this is, if we look at the direction of U here, this is original FD because profile drag, and this is original lift force. Now because of this downwash, the relative U relative has changed to this point, and then if I draw lift force, in this case lift force will be perpendicular to this now. So if I decompose this lift force into two components, one will be this and the other one will be this component. Now you can see because of this downwash we have additional component of drag. This additional component of drag is called FD induced drag, right? So you can clearly see that because of the downwash or upwash, we will have additional drag that will be induced because of this lift component. So that is called induced drag. So total drag FD will be combination of FDP plus FDI. Okay, so this is just additional analysis. If you have any question, you can ask.
Sir, but isn't this drag opposite to the direction of the actual drag?
Okay, so I think I haven't drawn this to scale. Maybe I'm missing something. This direction should be coming because I saw this thing somewhere else also. I recalled it. So I think I'm missing something here. Let me see. It should actually be in the direction of the flow. Yes. So now let me see how. Hmm.
सर आई गेस आपने जो यू रिलेटिव ड्रॉ किया उसकी डायरेक्शन डाउनवर्ड्स होगी क्योंकि वो एज अ रिजल्टेंट हमारे पास फैक्टर आ रहा है यहाँ पे आपने जो ट्रायंगल ड्रॉ की है उसमें यू जो है वो हमारे पास आपने एज अ रिजल्टेंट ड्रॉ किया हुआ है जबकि यू रिलेटिव आएगा आई गेस
नहीं, यू रिलेटिव तो ये देखें, ये फिर से मैं ड्रॉ करता हूँ इसको, शायद मैं कुछ चीज मिस कर रहा हूँ इसमें। ये इनकमिंग यू है फर्स्ट, ठीक है। अब आप समझे कि कोई एयरक्राफ्ट है वो डाउनवॉश वेलोसिटी फील कर रहा है। जब हम डाउनवॉश वेलोसिटी फील कहते हैं तो वो डाउनवॉश वेलोसिटी यू नॉट है, वो नीचे एक्ट कर रही होगी ना, ठीक है। तो इस केस में जो यू रिलेटिव, इसको हम रिजल्टेंट इन दोनों का लेंगे तो वो यू रिलेटिव ये बनेगा, यू रिलेटिव ये बनेगा, और ये अल्फा आई, ये अल्फा नॉट या अल्फा आई इस एंगल को कहते हैं, वो बना रहा होगा, ठीक है। अब एक्चुअली अगर हम यू को देखें तो एक्चुअल हमारा लिफ्ट फोर्स और ड्रैग फोर्स जो है वो एफ डी ये है और एफ एल ये है, ठीक है। अब यू रिलेटिव के अलोंग अगर हम देखेंगे कि यू रिलेटिव, अगर इफ वी टेक दिस यू रिलेटिव, सो इसके अलोंग जो हमारे पास फोर्स आएगा इस एक्सिस के, वो हमारे पास एफ एल नॉट आएगा, ठीक है। तो अब इस फोर्स को हम इस तरह लेंगे, सॉरी ये रिजल्टेंट बनेगा, ये रिजल्टेंट होगा, ये इस तरह है, ये 90 डिग्रीज है, ठीक है। ये सॉरी इस तरह डायरेक्शन है। अब आप ये देखें कि ये जो फोर्स है ना, ये जो है एफ डी आई को ऐड करेगा, ठीक है। ये मैंने डायरेक्शन ट्राइंगल गलत बना दिया था, ये ट्राइंगल इस तरह होगा such that this is 90 डिग्रीज। इस केस में ये फोर्स इधर होगा और ये इसकी डायरेक्शन सेम होगी इस तरह, ठीक है। अब आप देखें कि ये जो है ये प्रोफाइल ड्रैग है, ये इसकी शेप की वजह से है, ठीक है। और ये जो है ये इंड्यूस्ड ड्रैग है जो कि टिप इफेक्ट्स की वजह से है, क्योंकि डाउन वॉश और अप वॉश जो है वो हमारी टिप वॉर्टिसेस की वजह से आती है। अब ये टिप वॉर्टिसेस की वजह से जब हमारे पास एफ एल और एफ एल नॉट आया तो इसमें ये एडिशनल कंपोनेंट आ गया। अब इसमें एक इंटरेस्टिंग चीज ये है कि इफ एल्फा आई, नॉर्मली जो एल्फा आई एंगल है ये दिस इज वेरी वेरी स्मॉल, व्हेन दिस इज वेरी वेरी स्मॉल तो हम ये अज्यूम कर सकते हैं कि साइन अल्फा जो होगा वो बहुत, साइन अल्फा बहुत छोटा होगा, ठीक है। उसमें वी कैन से दैट एफ एल नॉट इज अप्रोक्सीमेटली इक्वल टू एफ एल। तो ये जो डाउनवॉश वेलोसिटी है ये लिफ्ट फोर्स को इतना अफेक्ट नहीं करेगी, लेकिन बिकॉज ऑफ दिस डाउनवॉश वेलोसिटी वी हैव एडिशनल component in the direction of drag, that is called induced drag। और इस वजह से जो induced drag, जो total drag होगी that will be profile drag plus induced drag। जो हमारे पास lift और drag force हम पोलर डायग्राम्स में कंबाइन करते हैं that is combination। जो CD हमारे पास ये FD आता है that is based on this equation that contains induced drag also and profile drag also included uh, in that polar diagram। Okay, is it clear now? क्लियर
Yes.
क्लियर है। चलिए, सॉरी वो मेरे से ना डायरेक्शन गलत बन गई थी, ट्रायंगल हमने गलत ले रहे थे, इसको ट्रायंगल आपको ये वाला लेना होगा, ठीक है। तो ये दिस इज जस्ट एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन के कैसे इंड्यूस ट्रैक जो है ना वो आती है ज़्यादा। Now we'll go through two examples on lift force। So a well hit golf ball which has diameter of 1.69 inches and weight equals to 0.0992 lb can travel at u equals to 2 feet per second as it leaves the tee। So now if you have seen the game of golf, you will see that we have the driving shot first. So we have a tee which we put inside the ground, and then we put the ball on top of the tee like this. So the tee is like this, and then a golf ball is placed on top of it, and then we use the driver or the club of the golf to hit the ball. So a well hit golf ball whose diameter and weight are given can travel at u equals to 200 feet per second as it leaves the tee. The well hit table tennis ball, now on the other hand we have a table tennis ball whose diameter is 1.5 inch and its weight is given here, can travel at u equals to 60 feet per second as it leaves the paddle or the racket of the table tennis. Determine the drag on the standard golf ball, the smooth golf ball, and a table tennis ball for the conditions given. Also determine the deceleration of each ball for these conditions, right? So now in order to find the drag force, we use this equation. CD equals to D divided by half rho U square A. We rearrange this equation in terms of D. So it will become D equals to CD into half rho U square A. Now for each ball, whether it is golf ball or table tennis ball, we'll find the value of CD first. In order to find the CD value, we know that CD is a function of Reynolds number. So first we have to find Reynolds number, which is given as UD over mu. Once we find the value of Reynolds number, then we can work out the value of CD from the polar diagrams or from the diagram which gives us information about CD and Reynolds number. I'll show you. We already saw that. I'll show you again here. So this is the steps that we are going to follow first. So now this is the graph of plot of Reynolds number on x-axis versus CD on y-axis, and then this is for the golf ball. So now once we find the value of Reynolds number, we can work out the value of CD from this plot. So for either ball, the drag can be obtained from this equation that we saw, right? So this is just rearranging that equation. Now in this case, you can see here that the area of the ball A is given as pi by 4d square. So this is the area that we use for the sapphire, uh, which will be the frontal area of the sapphire. Because if you look at a sapphire from the front view, you will see a circle like this. So this is the frontal area of the sapphire, which we use to calculate drag. So the results are shown for a sapphire actually. So now for the golf ball in standard air, this is the Reynolds number. Now we are given the incoming flow velocity u, which is 200. Diameter is given as 1.69 inches, which we convert into feet by dividing it by 12. And then the kinematic viscosity will normally be given to you in the exam also, or in the OST. So for standard ball that is traveling fluid air as fluid, this is the kinematic viscosity of the air that is given here. So from here we can work out the value of Reynolds number. So Reynolds number is coming as 1.79 into 10 raised to the power 5. So it is around here, 1 point around here, right? So if I draw a vertical here such that it, and draw a horizontal here, so I can work out the approximate value of CD, which is between 0.2 and 0.3. In fact, it is near 0.2. So I can say that CD is approximately equal to 0.21, right? Or 0.205 or 0.22. This is just an approximate value that I can read from this table, right? So this is how I can find CD. Once I find CD, area, diameter we know, we can find area, U square we know, and rho we also know. The density is also given to us, right? And so we can work out the value of drag force from there. Now for the tennis ball, so we assume that the tennis ball is sapphire which is smooth. For smooth sapphire, E by D roughness ratio is, relative roughness is 0. So we can use this graph now. Now, in order to use this graph, again, we will be working out the Reynolds number. In case of table tennis ball, the value of U is different for table tennis ball. So is the diameter, but the kinematic viscosity is the same because both of them, the golf ball and the table tennis ball, are traveling in air. So from here, we can work out the Reynolds number here. So the Reynolds number in this case is higher as compared to lower as compared to the golf ball 10 raised to the power 4, because why it is lower? Because of the incoming u is lower in this case. So now for this value we can work out here. We can see that 10 raised to the power 4 here, and then it's around, you can see that CD is around 0.5 for table tennis ball, right? So now we'll see that the corresponding drag coefficients are CD equals to 0.25, sorry, it's 0.25, not 0.21, 0.25 for standard golf ball, and CD equals to 0.51 for smooth smooth tennis ball, table tennis ball. Okay. What is it saying? Okay, no, my mistake. Why is it giving two values here? Okay, we are asked to find a well hit table tennis ball, a well hit golf ball, right? So we have two values. Determine the, okay, three. Determine the drag on the standard golf ball, smooth golf ball, and table tennis ball. So we have three. Okay, so he's giving us three conditions, right? So for the standard golf ball, we found that CD is 0.25, right? So CD was around, yes, 0.25 here, right? Then we have the smooth golf ball. Smooth golf ball, when this Reynolds number is 1.79, then we can also use this for smooth golf ball. For smooth golf ball, it is here, this one. CD is 0.51. And for table tennis ball, we worked out at 4 into 10 raised to the power 4, it is CD. That is the reason we are having three values, right? So now you can see here the corresponding drag coefficient RCD equals to 0.25. I think this should be around 0.21 or 0.21. Okay, for standard golf ball, CD equals to 0.51 for the smooth golf ball, and CD equals to zero point 0.5 for the table tennis ball. Hence, from equation 1 for standard golf ball, so once you first step you find Reynolds number, then you work out the value of CD from the graph, which is function of RE. Next step you will put it in the equation for drag force. So now once we put it in the equation for drag force, we can calculate the drag force here. So for the standard golf ball, this is the drag force, right? And then here he's using 0.25 for CD. So you can work it out from the table, and whatever value you work out from that plot, you can use that value here. And then for the smooth golf ball, we the value of CD is 0.51. So when he uses 0.51, he gets drag force of this much. And then for the third case, for the table tennis ball, he is using CD of zero point 0.5 to calculate the value of drag force. This is how we work out the value of drag force. Right now, the next step is to find the deceleration of the ball. The deceleration of the ball can be found using Newton's second law. F equals to ma. So now, because we know that W equals to mg, so if I rearrange this equation for m, it will become W over g. So if I put this equation here, it will become F equals to W over g a. Now if I rearrange this equation in terms of a by g, so I will have a by g, this is equals to F over W. So this is non-dimensional acceleration. So now from here I can find out the acceleration. The corresponding deaccelerations are A equals to D. So this D force in this case is the drag force. So A equals to D over M, which is equal to GD over W. So I can work out the value of A by G, which is equal to D by weight from here. The corresponding deaccelerations are this, where m is the mass of the ball. Thus, deacceleration relative to the acceleration of gravity, A by G, that is the number of G's deacceleration that is experienced by the ball, is given by this equation. Now we know the drag force. We can also calculate the weight because the mass of the ball are known. So we can just multiply it by G to calculate the weight of the ball, and then we can substitute it over here. So we will have three different accelerations for standard golf ball, for smooth golf ball, and for table tennis ball. Okay, this is how we solve this question. So we'll just stop here and we'll resume our discussion. We have a couple of more examples to follow, and also we have the last topic, which is Magnus effect, in which we will consider the rotation of circular cylinder and see how it affects the symmetry of flow. So we'll be discussing about it in next lecture, and hopefully we will just finish this chapter 9 next week in half an hour. So I will just upload. I've already prepared a PDF of this lecture. I will be uploading it, the whole lecture, after the class. So I would suggest you to go through the last topics and examples before you come to the class next week. So I won't be spending much time on this lecture. We'll just quickly cover these few topics, and then we will move to compressible flow next week. Okay. And also I also have the assignment with me now, so I'll also be uploading the assignment on MS Teams after the class. So you will find the assignment there. So the due date for assignment I have kept as 25th of April, but we can extend that, right? So we'll talk about it later So if I am giving assignment to you today, so you can submit it 1 week later. So I'll we can discuss about the due date afterwards. So I'll be in contact with the CR, and we can discuss about the due date later. But I will upload the assignment today also. Okay. Any question?
सर काइंडली थोड़ी एक्सटेंड कर दें डेडलाइन सर. इस वीक सर बहुत सारी असाइनमेंट्स हैं और करने को. सर अगले हफ्ते कर दें.
ओके ओके ठीक है, कोई मसला नहीं. आप वो सिर्फ 3 क्वेश्चन है, ज़्यादा असाइनमेंट बड़ी है भी नहीं, तो वो आप ऐसा कीजिएगा कि आप कब कब तक सबमिट करा सकते हैं. आप इस फ्राइडे को छोड़ के नेक्स्ट फ्राइडे को सबमिट करा दीजिएगा.
थैंक यू सर.
थैंक यू
ठीक
सर.
है. हाँ, वो मैं CR से बात कर लूँगा, वो आप मैं उनसे कर लूँगा, तो आप करवा दीजिएगा. और 3 असाइनमेंट्स 3 क्वेश्चन है छोटे से, वो आप करके बस सबमिट करा दीजिएगा. और बाकी जो है हम इसको नेक्स्ट वीक जो है ना फिर डिस्कशन कंटिन्यू करेंगे, और कंप्रेसिबल फ्लो नेक्स्ट वीक स्टार्ट करेंगे. जी.
हमारा कोर्स कितना रहता है अभी सर?
इसके अलावा हम है कंप्रेसिबल फ्लो का टॉपिक है, उसके बाद हम टर्बो मशीनरी का टॉपिक है. सो दो और चैप्टर्स हैं हमारे अब. तो मतलब टोटल इसके 4 चैप्टर्स हैं, और उसमें से हम 2 चैप्टर्स कवर कर चुके हुए हैं. तो अगला जो टॉपिक है वो कंप्रेसिबल फ्लो का टॉपिक है. 2-3 हफ्ते हम उसमें लगाएंगे, और उसके बाद हम टर्बो मशीनरी डिस्कस करेंगे. टर्बो मशीनरी में हम टरबाइन्स और पंप्स को डिस्कस करेंगे. उसमें भी आप कह लें कि 3 से हफ्ते लग जाएंगे. और एक जो लेक्चर होगा, अगर हमें टाइम मिला, तो वील बी फोकसिंग ऑन कंप्यूटेशनल फ्लूइड डायनामिक्स, CFD भी हम डिस्कस करेंगे थोड़ी सी. ठीक है. तो मतलब इसमें कोर्स कंटेंट जो है वो इतना एक्सटेंसिव नहीं है FM2 में, तो उसमें इसलिए हम अपनी पेस के साथ चल सकते हैं आराम आराम से. ठीक है
सर गुड.
इस चैप्टर में हमने कुछ फार्मूलाज पढ़े हैं, जैसे बाउंड्री लेयर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स में, तो
जी जी.
उनकी डेरिवेशन में जाने की हमें जरूरत है, या सिर्फ फार्मूलाज ही को हम फोकस करें?
नहीं, जैसे हमने वो बाउंड्री लेयर की टर्बुलेंस और उसकी लेमिनार की पढ़ी थी, उसमें आपको उसकी डेरिवेशन में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. मतलब आपको ये कॉन्सेप्ट पता होना चाहिए कि वो कहाँ से डराइव हो रहा है, उससे मोमेंटम इक्वेशन से डराइव हो रहा है, कंटिन्यूटी इक्वेशन से डराइव हो रहा है, और आपको एंड रिजल्ट्स पता होने चाहिए कि जी ये टर्बुलेंस के लिए ये फॉर्मूला इस्तेमाल करते हैं, लेमिनार फ्लो के लिए ये फॉर्मूला इस्तेमाल करते हैं. उसकी डेरिवेशन में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है आपको.
ठीक है.
ठीक है. लेकिन फ्रॉम एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, लेकिन थ्योरेटिकली आप अगर पढ़ेंगे तो दैट विल बी बेनिफिशियल टू यू. डेरिवेशन आप पढ़ेंगे तो उसकी फिजिक्स ज्यादा क्लियर होगी आपको. एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? So I've already taken a lot of your time, so I'll just take the attendance now and then let you go. Just give me 1 minute.